shown. We now have the wheel turning on, the rising in the world. And he has a really world, because it's like a world with long lifestyle and lots of happiness around it, lots of people. And there's only 3 kinds of disease: desire, hunger, and old age. That's pretty good. So then, what happens next? This now gets quite interesting, because this is also quite controversial in many ways, I think. So for that reason, it's quite interesting. The text then goes on. The Buddha goes on to say, actually, I'm not even sure if the Buddha said this, but anyway, the text goes on. And in that time, of the people with 80,000-year lifespan, there will arise in the world a blessed Lord, an arahant, fully enlightened Buddha, named Chetawan, endowed with wisdom and conduct, a wayfarer, knower of the world, incomparable trainer of men to be tamed, a teacher of gods and humans, to awaken the blessed, just as I am now. He will thoroughly know by his own super knowledge and proclaim this universe with its devas and maras and brahmanas, with ascetics and brahmins, this generation with its princes and people, just as I do now. He will teach the Dhamma, lovely in the beginning, lovely in the middle, lovely in the ending, in the spirit and in the letter, and proclaim, just as I do now, the holy life in its fullness and purity. He will be attended by a company of thousands of monks, just as I am attended by a company of hundreds. So, this is the place of the suttas where there's a promise of a future Buddha called Maitreya in Malayalam and Metteyya in the Pali suttas. So they are saying here that basically in the future there will be this of a Buddha called Metteyya. This is the only place in the suttas for this invention. Only one single place. So because of that, and this is how the Dhamma, you need to read the Dhamma. If something only occurs once, you've got to be a bit skeptical about it, because you can always wonder where it comes from. And indeed, when you compare the sutta again with the Chinese arguments, which are the most easy to compare it with, and the same sutta in the Chinese argument does not have any description of the Buddha Metteyya arriving in the world at this point. And that makes it even more unlikely that actually this goes back at this part of the original sutta as it was. And there is an interesting study by another monk called Venerable Ananda, who was studied in particular the beginning of the Bodhisattva idea. And he has shown, I think, fairly conclusively that the idea of the future Buddha like Metteyya here is a later addition to the Pali canon. And it was not part of the original sutta. And I would say it probably does not go back to the Buddha himself, even though here it looks like it does go back to the time of the Buddha. I think it doesn't. So this doesn't mean that there won't be any future Buddhas, because the idea of Buddhism rather, is that Buddhas come and Buddhas go. There will be new Buddhas in the future, of course. But the idea that the Buddha proclaimed that there will be a certain Buddha in the future with this particular name, and that he will do lots of good for people, that seems to be something that came later on. That all these things arise when the Buddha passes away. Then people get very sad and very dejected because our teacher is gone, and then they want to, have some kind of hope for the future. And that's why these stories start to be made, because they want to have that particular hope. So even today, you hear people say things like, "Oh, I will wait till the next Buddha comes around, and then I will practice under that Buddha." But you don't know when that will be. It is impossible. It could be a long, long time before the next Buddha comes around. What the only thing you know, that we have the teachings now. Now is the opportunity here. We have no idea when the opportunity will come again in the future. So don't dream about some possibility for the future that may or may not arise. What if that Buddha arises? Maybe you won't even understand that it's a Buddha. Maybe you think that, this monk over there, I don't really have the faith in him because maybe your spiritual qualities aren't strong enough to be able to recognize the Buddha. Then what? Then you are back at square one again. There's nothing you can do. So take the opportunity now, and the more you practice in this life, the more pure you become. The more chances you have anyway of recognizing a Buddha in the future because of your own purity now. So be careful of these cults of future Buddhas that you see a lot of in the world today. I know in India they were building this massive Maitreya factory that we did an enormous project over there. But why worship something in the future that we don't know anything about, instead of having respect and reverence for the Buddha that has given us these things? After all, this is the Buddha that has given us the real teachings. He is the one we should respect. He is the one we should have a sense of gratitude towards, and not some kind of future dream that we have arisen there. So let's try to be realistic and pragmatic about this, not get caught up in dreams and fantasies. So, I just wanted to say that because this is the only place in the suttas where Maitreya is actually mentioned in this way. Of course, once we get into the commentaries and things, then this thing expands a lot. There's lots more about it in the future. There's even a book in the Pali called the Anagata Vansa, which literally means the lineage of the future. It talks about the future Buddha. So that's how far it goes eventually. So, and you can see here, it's even, not only is there a promise of Maitreya, but he's actually made out to be even better than the Buddha in some ways. As I said, he will have a company of thousands of monks, just as I now am attended by hundreds. So it's like you are praising him more than the present Buddha. So that's even more dangerous. So, anyway, so then the sutta goes on then. Then King Sanka will re-erect the palace once built by King Mahapanada, and having lived in it, will give it out and present it to the ascetics and Brahmins, the beggars, the wayfarers, the destitutes. Then, shaving off hair and beard, he will don yellow robes and go forth from the household life into homelessness, under the supreme Buddha Maitreya. Having gone forward, he will remain alone and in seclusion, ardent, eager, and resolute. And before long, he will have attained in this very life, by his own strict knowledge and resolution, the unequal goal of all the life, for the sake of which young men go forth, of a good family go forth from the household life into homelessness. And he will abide therein. So it means he will become arrogant according to this story, this future kingdom. So that is the story, that is the parable that the Buddha tells. Then again, I don't think that this whole parable should really be regarded as history or regarded necessarily as the way the world works. Maybe the world works a little bit like this, but I think it's mostly meant as a kind of edifying moral story to help us understand the consequences of good and bad conduct. Good conduct always leads to what is good, bad conduct leads to things going bad. And then the Buddha then finishes this off. And he says, concludes as he started off, monks, the islands unto yourselves, be a refuge unto yourselves, with no other refuge. Let the Dhamma be your island, the Dhamma be your refuge, with no other refuge. And how do you do that? Here the monk divides contemplating the body of the body, energetic, clearly comprehending, mindful, having put aside desire and aversion for the world. He divides contemplating feeling and feeling again. He divides contemplating a mind state and a mind state. He divides contemplating certain principles and not principles. Energetic, clearly comprehending, mindful, having put aside desire and aversion for the world. So again, this is such a Satipatthana that gives you a sense of refuge, because that refuge is a refuge away from hindrances and problems and the delusion of anger and desire. It is a refuge in the world. So, then, it continues, keep to your own preserved monks, to your own ancestral haunts. If you do, your lifespan will increase, your beauty will increase, your happiness will increase, your wealth will increase, your power will increase. That's what the Buddha said at the beginning of the sutta. If you can remember, he said that this is the way that you build up wholesome states, and that increases the merit. That's what the Buddha said at the beginning here. So this is what the Buddha he meant by increasing merit, to get all these things. We build up the wholesome states through Sattva practice, and then what we gain is beauty, happiness, and wealth. So what do these things mean for a monk? What is length of life for a monk? Here a monk develops the road to power, which is concentration of attention accompanied by effort of the will, the road of power which is concentration of energy, concentration of consciousness of mind, the road of power which is concentration of investigation accompanied by an effort of the will. So these are the ikipadas. These are four of those things that we're supposed to develop as part of the path. By frequently practicing these four roads to power, he can, if he wishes, live for a full century or the remaining part of the century. That is what I call length of life for a monk. Actually, the Buddha said himself in the Mahaprajna Sutta that by practicing these things, he can live for the remainder of the eon. Which is, I think, I haven't actually checked the value of this, but I think eon might actually be the word here as well. And then the commentary says that eon means a century, but it seems to be saying eon actually, which is rather curious, because the physical body of a human being living for an eon would be pretty frightening sight after a while, I think. So I think that, I don't know if that is to be taken too literally minded. Then, what is the beauty of a monk? Here, the monk practices right conduct, is restrained according to the discipline, perfect in behavior and habits, seeing danger in the slightest fault, and trained in the rules of training and undertaking. That is the beauty of a monk. So the beauty is the virtue, practicing virtuously. Not necessarily just the conduct of the Patimokkha, but any kind of virtue that is required of a monk. And what is happiness for a monk? Here a monk attached from the five senses and enters the first jhana, the second jhana, the third and the fourth jhana, which is purified by equanimity and mindfulness. This is the happiness of a monk. So in other words, because again, this is the happiness of seclusion. And ideally, a monastic or a monk or nun are supposed to be secluded, far away. This is the kind of happiness that you get if you practice seclusion properly in the right way. This is the happiness you're supposed to have as a monastic. What is wealth for a monk? Here, a monk with his heart filled with loving kindness, dwells suffusing one quarter, a second, a third, a fourth. This well suffusing the whole world, upwards, downwards, across, everywhere, always with a mind filled with loving kindness, abundant, unbounded, with hate, without hate or ill will. I think there's a slight mistranslation there. It should say in there somewhere that he does it to himself as to all beings. That's an important part of that translation. I'm not sure where it has gone wrong here. Then, with his heart filled with compassion, filled with sympathetic joy, his heart filled with equanimity, well suffusing the whole world, upwards, downwards, across, everywhere. Filled with equanimity to all as to himself, abundant and bounded and without hate or ill will. This is the will of a monk. These are the Brahmaviharas. How we practice the Brahmaviharas. So you notice the interesting thing is the way the Brahmaviharas are explained in the Suttas. They are explained as pervading the different directions around you with loving kindness and compassion, etc. Often in the modern meditation practice, what they do is to spread metta towards people, towards that person. You start off with a friendly person, a neutral person, etc. But in the Sutta, this is actually how it is explained. But of course, this is a very sliding type of practice, and sometimes you have to start off, perhaps, with doing this differently. And what is the power for a monk? Here a monk are the destruction of the corruption. This is the asavas, the outflowings of the mind, entered into and abide in the corruptionless liberation of the heart, liberation by wisdom, which he has attained in this very life by his own strict knowledge and realization. This is power for a monk. This is becoming an arahant, the last one, fully awakened. You will see that there's a certain sequence here. If you look aside from the roads to power, the Brahmalas, you will see the sequence here. That first of all, you are virtuous. That's the beauty of it. Then based on that virtue, you attain the jhanas. Based on the jhanas, you practice the Brahmali. This is something you see again and again in the Sutta, that real Brahmali, real metta, actually happens after the jhanas. That is how powerful and how profound these states actually are. They're so powerful that they actually come after the jhanas. And it's not just in this Sutta, this is what we see again and again. So the kind of metta we do to try to purify ourselves is a step in the right direction. But it's a long way from the kind of lofty goal that this is talking about here, for most people anyway. And then, beyond that, you then enter the corruptionless state, where you become fully enlightened, you abandon all defilements. The defilements can never arise again in the future. And this is called power for a monk. Monks, I do not consider any power so hard to conquer as the power of Mara. It is just by this building up of wholesome states that this merit increases. In other words, it is by building up of this wholesome state that you conquer the power of Mara. Thus, the Lord spoke, and the monks were delighted and rejoiced at his words. Yes? I think that the main meaning of conquering Mara is that he conquers the defilements of the mind, because the defilements of the mind that tempt you to do things that you don't really want to do, that tempt you to break the peace, or that tempt you to go in the wrong direction. And that is really the Mara that he's talking about. And I think that is the main meaning of Mara and Buddhism. There may be such a thing as Mara, is part of samsara and sort of rules a certain realm. That may be the case, but that is not really so much of a problem that our own mind. The inner Mara is the one that is really dangerous. Yes? Yeah. These are the directions of the compass. So north, east, west, and south. So one at a time. And then it's up and down, right? Up is zenith, down is nadir, or nadir, and down. And we have a sixth direction, and everything in between. The idea is that everything is included in the metta. You don't exclude anybody. So, I know sometimes people sort of have, an enemy, and they don't want to have metta towards the enemy, so that the whole world can have metta except this one person. That is the wrong way of practice. Everybody has to be included in that. So, yeah. It's actually nice to read things like this, because you see here how the Buddha does these things, and then you get some idea of how to practice these things. Boundless, unbounded means you have no boundary here. There is nobody apart, there's nobody kind of outside of the metta. This is what it means. That's what it means unbounded here. Everybody is included, the whole world, all directions, everywhere here. These are simple little words that they simplify the also. And also, the Pali says to oneself and to everybody else. So you are also included in your own metta. So when you have the whole world, because you are in the world, you will also be included by the necessity. So, anything else in the Sutta? Yes? Yes?
Is there a direct relationship between what you contain in the Sutta to the quotations and stories that you find in Dhammapada?
Okay.
Because, for example, Paragraph 8 here, where you say something about the lifespan will increase, happiness increase.
Yeah.
There is a particular Dhammapada that quotes very similar, where you are in a habit of saying homage to people who you say homage, you get all this more.
Okay.
And then the other one is about a battle elephant. Because a lot of stories in the Dhammapada very similar to the battle elephant, the meaning of the elephant.
Right. Yeah. Yes, I think do you mean the Dhammapada, or do you mean the stories around the Buddha?
The story.
Yeah.
Mostly the story.
Yeah, right. Okay, yeah. There is a continuity, and often you will find that the story that is found in the sutta, they will be repeated in a slightly different form, slightly different ways. They will be expanded on, and they will be because it is not always Buddhism, right? So they take something as a foundation, and then they expand that and explain it in greater detail. This is kind of the standard way of these things work. So yes, you will find similarities. But then you may also find in the Dhammapada stories, you may find things which are not found in the sutta that are added to these things. And that's why you have to sort of be careful about the content of these things, because it may not be exactly the way the Buddha had meant these things to be understood. So there is continuity, there is similarity, but there also is change at the same time. There's both change and continuity in these things. So that is how it works. And that is true with all kinds of literature in Buddhism. Even if you take things like the Abhidhamma is based in many ways on the Sutta, but it's an expansion of that. But it's a new way of interpreting things sometimes. And because it is a new way, you have to be a little careful when you start reading the Abhidhamma. You have to ask yourself, is this really what the Buddha actually wanted? Very often, the best thing to do when you are, I think stories are not so dangerous, because stories are just there to impart a morale. They are there to sort of do something positive for you. They can be entertaining, they can be fun, they have a kind of additional, they're not so bad. But what we have to be careful with is when we take later text as more important in terms of doctrine, Buddhist doctrine, than the suttas. That is when we have to be careful. And that is what happens with like the Abhidhamma. People say the Abhidhamma is a higher teaching. It's higher than the suttas. Go to the Abhidhamma first. Then understand the sutta in terms of the Abhidhamma. That's what you might hear in certain particular traditional Buddhist circles. But that is dangerous, because then you are taking the word of somebody else before you're taking the word of the Buddha. Perhaps it's okay, but perhaps it's not. So you've got to be careful. Yes, sir. This is everything that we do in Buddhism. Everything, everything we do to get a pure mind, starting off with virtue, being kind, being good, purifying mind of mental states, Satipatthana practice and meditation. Everything that builds up good things inside of you, and decreases the bad qualities. That is the building of mental states. Sorry? Everything else also, states is like the qualities in your mind, basically. The qualities in your mind is what was meant. Kusala Dhamma. Yes, sir. Okay, so the difference is that liberation of the heart is like shape of vimukti, basically means liberation of the mind, liberation of the heart, if you like it. And that is anything whereby you create a pure mind by overcoming the defilements temporarily. So a liberation of the heart is when the heart and the mind is liberated from the defilements in jhana, in the Brahmali, in deep samadhi. The heart is liberated from defilements, liberation of the heart. But that liberation is not permanent. You come out of the jhana, and at a later stage, the defilements come back again. So the liberation by wisdom is actually seeing the world in such a way that the defilements get destroyed completely, so they never come back again. That is the difference. So the liberation by wisdom is final, whereas the liberation of the heart is temporary there. So, yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Difficult to know. Difficult to know. Hard to say. I would recommend, if you are going to really admit that to a sick person, get somebody to tell that sick person that you're doing it. And the reason is because lots of healing power is in the placebo effect. So if somebody knows that they're doing it, they're not get better because they know it. Not so much because you are doing it, because they know you're doing it. This is what they do in medicine all the time. They give somebody a sugar pill and say, this is a medicine, try it to get better. And they get better. If you have two people, one doesn't get the sugar, one gets it, but you want to get the sugar a bit much better than the other one. This has an improvement there. Placebo effect, it works. So, do the metta towards people, because it's good for you, that's the most important thing, and tell the sick person that you're doing it, and then it will certainly be good for the sick person. And this placebo effect is very powerful because it works, even if you know that it is like a trick, it still works actually. It's fascinating. The mind basically working tricks on you, and it seems to have a effect. Yes. Yeah. Say again? Yeah, okay, good. This is the thing, I didn't say it doesn't work. I just said that placebo helps also. Do both. Do the metta, maybe that helps. Do the placebo thing on top of that, and then purifies you as well. I mean, this is a lot of benefits there already. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. If the Mangala is saying that the friend wants to do the same, let's say that's right. Yes. You know, these are kind of some of the mysteries of Buddha, which I'm not really sure about. But it seems that when you read the Sutta, the Buddha even says to Sutta, it says, please come to time, now we come back to that. And the Buddha gets better then. Yeah. It's true, but why doesn't the Buddha look disciples look like us himself? You know, why does he get shown that we're doing it? There's the other mystery there. Yeah, perhaps right. Yeah. I think it's a bit mysterious. It's not really understand the truth, but it made us Okay, let's move on to the last sutta that I was going to do on this sutta retreat. This is one of I really like this sutta because it has given me a lot of inspiration in my life as a monk. It's a simple sutta, but very, very strong in my opinion. Very, gives a lot of power. It's the simile of the mountain. And because we are coming to the end of this retreat now, this is the type of thing which leads you to practice. It reminds you of the importance of practice. This is why this simile is so powerful now. So now we have done all the theory, now we have to get down and do all the hard work that we call that stuff. This is from the Samyutta Nikaya, and it goes as follows. At Savatthi. Then, in the middle of the day, King Pasenadi of Kosala approached the Blessed One and exchanged greetings with him. When they had concluded their greetings and cordial talk, the Blessed One said to him, as he was sitting to one side, "Now where do you come from, great King, in the middle of the day?" "Just now, Venerable Sir, I have been engaged in those affairs of kingship, typical of head-anointed Sattviya kings, who are intoxicated with the intoxication of sovereignty like power, who are obsessed by greed for sensual pleasures, who have attained stable control in the country, and who rule, having conquered a great sphere of territory on earth." This is what we do if you're a king, when you are a king. These are the great kings at the time of the Buddha, who were in charge of large countries. "What do you think, great king?" says the Buddha. "Here a man will come to you from the east, one who is trustworthy and reliable. Having approached, he will tell you, 'For sure, great king, you should know this. I am coming from the east, and there I saw a great mountain, high as the clouds, coming this way, crushing all living beings. Do whatever you think should be done, great king. that the second man will come to you from the west, that the third man will come to you from the north, that the fourth man will come to you from the south, one who is trustworthy and reliable. Having approached, he will tell you, for sure, great king, you should know this. I am coming from the south, and there I saw a great mountain, high as the clouds, coming this way, crushing all living beings. Do whatever you think should be done, great king. If, great king, such a great peril should arise, such a terrible destruction of human life, the human state being so difficult to obtain, what should be done? If, venerable sir, such a great peril should arise, such a terrible destruction of human life, the human state being so difficult to obtain, what else should be done but to live by the Dhamma, to live righteously, and to do wholesome and meritorious deeds? I inform you, great king, I announce to you, great king, aging and death are rolling in on you. When aging and death are rolling in on you, great king, what should be done? As aging and death are rolling in on the venerable sir, what else should be done but to live by the Dhamma, to live righteously, and to do what wholesome and meritorious deeds are? So aging and death are like these mountains coming from four sides, crushing everybody. There is no escape. It's impossible to escape, and we all get crushed whether we want to or not. And most people don't want to be crushed by the mountains. But then the king says, there are, venerable sir, elephant battles fought by head-anointed Katya kings who are intoxicated with intoxication of sovereignty, who are obsessed by greed for sensual pleasures, who have attained stable control of the country, and the rule having conquered a great sphere of territory on earth. But there is no base for those elephant battles, no scope for them, but aging and death are rolling in. There are, venerable sirs, cavalry battles fought by head-anointed Catholic kings. There are chariot battles, infantry battles, but there is no place for those infantry battles, no scope for them, but aging and death are rolling in. In this royal court, venerable sir, there are counselors who, when the enemies arrive, are capable of dividing them by subterfuge, but there is no place for those battles or subterfuge, no scope for them, but aging and death are rolling in. In this royal court, venerable sir, there exists abundant bullion and gold, stored in vaults and depositories, and with such wealth we are capable of multiplying the enemies when they come. But there is no place for those battles of wealth, no scope for them, for aging and death are rolling in. As aging and death are rolling in, only, venerable sir, what else should be done but to live by the Dhamma, to live righteously, and to do wholesome and meritorious deeds? So it is, great king, so it is, great king, as aging and death are rolling in on you, what else should be done but to live by the Dhamma, to live righteously, and to do wholesome and meritorious deeds? This is what the Blessed One said. So, for me anyway, very powerful little sutta in the Samyutta, and it just reminds you of the power of reflecting on death. When you remind yourself of death, then you also remind yourself of what is really important in life. Death has this ability, reflection of death, has this ability to clear the mind of all the stupid things that we often spend our time in, like desires for silly things, being angry at stupid little things, being preoccupied by things that are not really important. Being in the face of death, confronting death, clears the mind, makes the mind clear, and you understand what is really important. Just like the king's mind is clear, you understand that all the battles that he's used to, battles of whatever kind, those things are completely stupid in the face of death. Why make lots of bad karma when we could be dying at any time? We just don't know when death is going to happen. So that is why contemplation of death is such an important part of Buddhism, because it gives sense to gives sense to a feeling of urgency. Now is the time. You don't know what the time will come again in the future. So that is, if you want to practice, that is one of the kind of reflection that you can do to yourself. Remind yourself of death. Two things about death. You know it will come for sure. There's no escape from death, unfortunately. Number two, it can happen just when you don't expect it. It happens any time. You never know when it's going to happen. You can walk out of this hall, a crazy driver can run over you, and that's it. End of story now. And this will happen very, very fast. This is the reality of it, and this is one of the ways that we have said that we should contemplate. So, there you are. That's the last sutta I want to read out today. I think it would be nice to have another quick break, maybe have a cup of tea or whatever. Please, we're pouring out there. Have a quick break anyway, and we'll come back maybe in about 20 minutes or half an hour or so, and then we can do some more questions and answers at the very end.